Well, I'm Leslie DiNicola. I'm a singer-songwriter.
I'm Julian Coryell.
We just finished recording my 5th EP, Love and Destruction. We have a single for it called Boy and Girl. It comes with a music video, and that's kind of how we came here today to talk about the microphone that we recorded the whole album on, but specifically the song Boy and Girl, and the orchestration we put together for that, which highlighted strings playing on a variety of blue microphones.
So we started making this latest record of yours, this EP, Love and Destruction. Again, we talked about which mics to use, and we settled on the bottle again for this one, right?
We did. We did a few blind tests. I sang into different ones for different particular tracks. I had a history of working with other mics, and I had my personal favorites, so I had asked to sing certain songs through those, and Julian would always have me sit in the control room and listen back and not tell me which track I was listening to on which microphone. And time again, each time, it was the bottle was winning every time.
Once again, at the end of the project, you came back and
I have a bad habit of this. I go home and I get sad that the record's done. So I start writing again. And I came back a few months later and said, you know, I want to release a single before the record comes out, and I want it to be special. I want something different that isn't a typical move for a singer-songwriter in my circuit. We talked about, instead of just acoustic guitar, you know, make it a little special and bring in a string quartet.
a big part of the draw for me was I wanted to make a record the way my heroes had made records. People like Sinatra, Nat King Cole, Ray Charles, the era before too much multi-track, basically, where you had to be good enough to cut it in the room with the band, so to speak. I knew the bottle was the right choice for your vocal. And then, of course, the quality problem we have with the bottle is which capsule to use. But we ended up going with the B6, which I think the inspiration for that was a particular Neumann microphone, but then they took it to a new place, almost a bigger place, if that's even possible, with its own sonic point of view, but still retaining, and this to me is sort of the deal breaker, still retaining that classic quality. But that's what we're looking for with contemporary gear. We're looking for something new, but it can't be so new that it completely abandons the legacy that all this stuff owes its debt to. And so the B6 is kind of that sweet spot for me, because it does have that classic sound, but it's also doing something contemporary at the same time. And it complemented your voice beautifully on that record.
I agree.
And so we went out to a soundstage and brought in the string players. Of course, I wrote the arrangement, and we tweaked it and made sure we liked everything. And this is my favorite part, is that when we got to the studio, they offered us the use of their vintage mics. And they did have a particularly luscious old Neumann. And I honestly thought, well, this might be a situation where the bottle is going to not be used, because this is a kind of a holy grail mic that they have. But in the spirit of being fair, let's have you sing into both.
Once again, I did vocal takes on both microphones, and I have to admit, I too was kind of siding with the Neumann, just based on its history and what I knew about it, and I was excited to sing into it. I'd never worked with one before. So we did a take, and I went into the control room, put the headphones on, loved the way it sounded. I just thought it couldn't be better. Listened to the second take. I didn't even have to hear the end of the first phrase. I knew instantly that was going to be the choice. And Julian told me it was the bottle. The thing that was most exciting for me when I started singing through the bottle at first was, it was the first time I had heard myself singing through a microphone that really captured exactly what I was hearing in the room while I was singing. For me, my voice is a very pure and crystalline quality to it. So there are microphones that really get very thin sounding when I'm in my higher register. And for me, what I need out of a microphone is a nice, warm, round quality, no matter high or low. I want that all-encompassing. So when I was singing through the bottle, I was immediately shocked by how pure the sound was. And then there was not just that classic warmth and roundness, but there was this modern kind of shimmery quality to it that, you know, it's like a little chocolate chip cookie. It's like sugar. So that combination was the most unique thing I have heard in a microphone in my experience.
And so we made our choice, we put up the bottle for your vocal. And then I was miking up the string section, and I had a little bit of experience with, there's two models that Blue makes, the Hummingbird and the Dragonfly. So I got a hold of two of each, and I think we put the two Dragonflies went on the cello and the viola, and then the Hummingbirds went on the two violins. When I went into the control room and asked the string quartet to play, and I brought up the faders, I was knocked out, because the Hummingbird and the Dragonfly, they sounded fantastic on the strings. What you want when you're recording instruments is you want the instruments to speak. A lot of that has to do with what's in front of the microphone, of course, but also the gear plays a significant role. And especially with strings, you're looking for a certain kind of articulation. You want to hear the rosin on the bow when the cello plays, you know, a long note. And then with the violins, you want them to have a sweet sound, but not a piercing sound, for instance. And the viola, at least for me, somewhere in between, and kind of have that warmth of the cello with some of the the timbre characteristics of a violin, but kind of filling in the middle. And the Dragonfly and the Hummingbird captured all of those things beautifully. I got the articulation I was looking for, I got the depth I was looking for. And my favorite thing, when I got back to my studio the next day and I put up the tracks, I still got the goosebumps. Because often when you're in the heat of the moment, everything's kind of heightened in the sober light of day. And I brought up those strings, and they just sounded beautiful and very organic, very real, but magical. Right? That's what you want. You want it to have that magical quality, but you also want it to be authentic. And I definitely got that from the Hummingbird and the Dragonfly. I hope that when you hear that song that we did, it speaks for itself.
So my new record, Love and Destruction, is available on iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, anywhere the cool kids are listening to music, Spotify, you name it.
Father said to work hard, that's how you'll get good things. Life's a fight, there's no one